Here we are. We're back. Clayton Echard. You're the first Bachelor, Bachelorette that I've ever had. So I know nothing about either show. I've never watched it. All the girls in the office gave me a million questions. So this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this might be a case of where it's a good thing that you don't know a whole lot. But since the women in the office have probably given you some questions to ask, I can't weasel my way around. I'm not going to, but this should be interesting.
I was talking to some people last night, and I was like, I think I think you're right. I was like, the less I know about this, the better, because this will make it more interesting. But you're from Missouri, right? Where you at right now?
Yeah, I'm currently in Virginia Beach right now with my girlfriend from the show, but we
Susie.
are planning to move. Yep, Susie. Yeah, there you go. Look at you, man. You're going to be a bachelor extraordinaire by the end of this.
You guys are moving back to Missouri?
No, so actually, game plan right now, I'm moving to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
And then she's in the interim while I look for a house to purchase. And then she's going to move to LA in the interim. And both it's only a 50-minute flight, but we're going to both work on our careers and
gotcha.
Get up and moving.
Okay. We'll get to Bachelor, Bachelorette stuff. But you grew up in Missouri. You went to University of Missouri.
Yes, sir.
As DN, but then you moved to tight end, and then you played both ways. Is this all this happened?
No, I did switch positions. That's correct, but I did not play at defensive end either ever. Once I made the switch to tight end, I was a blocking tight end, and that's just where I stayed.
Yeah. How big are you?
At my playing days or now?
Sure. Yeah. Playing days.
I was 6'5", 275.
Oh wow!
I was a husky man, a good old Missouri boy.
Who was the coach when you were at Missouri?
Gary Pinkel.
Who was was Heupel the OC then, or no? Was that after you?
He was the year after I think I left, if I'm not mistaken. I had Josh Henson as my offensive coordinator at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so Heupel came the following year or two later after I graduated.
Yeah, he's at Tennessee now. I like him. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a pretty brilliant mind. From what I had heard about him. Again, I didn't have any interactions, but Missouri's had some pretty good coaches, and we had a good run at the time. They've had a couple down years now, but I think hopefully they'll pick things back up. It's hard to keep things rolling in the SEC.
I went to Vandy, so you're preaching to the choir over here.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but Vandy was a nice, secure win for us most times, so we would know that we could at least chalk that one up.
I know
I hate saying that, but I think Vanderbilt. It's unfortunately, and I feel like every year they talk about how that might be the year they got a team together, and then it just doesn't pan out from what I've.
No, you're spot on. We were just talking about it in the office because with the teams moving into the SEC and stuff, I was like, they're never going to kick Vandy out of the SEC because it's a win for the big schools. So if they've got to, give them some money at the end of the year, that's fine because it's an automatic W. So they're going to.
I was going to say you can probably confirm this, but I think I heard that teams get in a way paid more to lose. Is that true, or is that a
no? Well, I mean,
play them. They'll pay smaller schools to come play them, knowing that they probably will lose, but they're getting paid more. I guess. Sorry, I should have said that correctly.
Yes,
it makes it seem as though they're rigging the game.
Some of the big schools will pay some of these Division AA or somebody else to come in. And they'll pay them a lot of money, knowing these teams know that they're about to get, their brains beat in, but they get a big payday, which helps keep the program afloat and sort of stuff. So yes, that does happen. But the SEC, I'm pretty sure all that bowl money gets divided to all the schools. So by having Vandy in the conference, it just gives most of these teams another win, which helps them in BCS and all the stuff. So they're happy to give them some money.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it only takes really 1 year. I think Mizzou showed that we went from 5-7 one first year SEC, then to like 12-2, and
Yeah.
player development was crucial. I think our player development program was incredible. That's where they took a lot of 3-star talent, but I think they had 3-star size, but 5-star talent, and then our coaches just did a great job of packing on the weight and building the strength, and the next thing you know, these guys became 5 stars. So I think Vanderbilt might be able to work in that realm, not get the straight out 5 stars out of high school, but get some guys that are just a little bit more of the 3-4 stars that need some development on the size, and they could probably make it happen.
Totally. I mean, that's what it's about. Because I mean, all the other big schools are going to get the 4 and 5 stars, so you have to find those hidden gems and find a way to turn them into serious football players. And I think you got to have really strong defensive and offensive coordinators that are creative, that can use some of these guys, because you're not going to go head to head and just pound the ball against some of these big SEC teams.
No, and I think the big thing is, again, there's just some teams that have such a competitive edge. I think when we played Alabama, their strength is depth. So I think we had really great talent that could compete with them. And we did in the SEC championship game, I think it was 2014, but they ran us down by the third quarter. I mean, their third stringers, they're playing 3 strings. We're playing maybe 2 in some sense. And so it's just that at that point, they're 100%, and our guys are at 80%, and then it just takes over from there.
Yeah, when I was playing at Vandy, we had 1 string. Everything else was we were in trouble if we lost first string.
They're asking you to play quarterback.
Gosh, I mean, wouldn't surprise
go both
me
ways.
Then. Exactly. So then you sign with Seahawks, go to camp. How was your experience at camp in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I tell everyone I had a cup of coffee, almost in and out like a bank robbery. It was about 2 months, but I had a really great experience. I felt very, very thankful to go to the Seahawks. I think there's a reason why their organization's as successful as what it's been, because it really, from what I'd heard from guys coming from other teams, the chemistry on the Seahawks with the coaches, they truly cared. Coach Carroll, I thought, was one of the best coaches that I had been coached by in the brief period I was there, because I was a nobody. I was a walk-on in college, but I was a free agent in the NFL. And yet he'd come down the line for warm-ups every day, and he'd talk to every single person. Didn't care if you were the first stringer or fifth stringer. So that was just the way that their organization was across the board. And I had a hell of an experience. It was a lot of fun, but unfortunately the tight end depth for the Seahawks was probably maybe second at the time to only the Patriots when they had Gronk and
who was there? Who was there whenever you were there?
Jimmy Graham was a starting tight end, and they had Luke Wilson as the second.
Yeah.
Their third string guy was the guy it ended up being Nick Vannett that they drafted out of Ohio State. And then their blocking tight end was a guy named Brandon Williams, and he was the second stringer to Greg Olson for like the previous 4 years.
Okay.
And it was funny. My agent told me, he's like, he goes, he looks the part, but he might not play the part. So then I saw first game, like he just absolutely just bulldozed somebody. And I went up to him. I was like, my agent told me that you were supposed to look the part, but not play the part. What the hell is this? And then I went to my agent and gave him some trouble. He goes, I kind of just wanted to say that to you so that you didn't get in your head. He's like, he's a pretty big specimen, good player. I was like, okay. So he's trying to do the reverse psychology, but everyone there, as you know, you had a major career in the NFL. Everyone there is so talented, whether you're first to fourth string.
Yeah.
They're all incredible.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for error once you get up there.
No.
And that program, I mean, with Pete and those guys, they did it right for a long time. Like whenever you were there, that team was stacked.
They were, yeah. And so for me, I looked at it like, hopefully I'll get some game film to land somewhere else. And but again, it's a matter of timing. And after I got sent my way, I had interest 6 months later, but I decided with the Panthers, but I decided to stick to my medical sales job, which is what it is. I made my decisions then, but it was an incredible experience. Yeah. I mean, as you know, the NFL, playing at the highest level it's really hard to ever emulate something like that ever again from just like an adrenaline rush. I think I was chasing that ever since football, and there's just nothing like it.
No, it's impossible. It is. I mean, 'cause whenever I was out, and you I was in for 12. It's like you get out and you're trying to figure out, what the hell are you going to do? And you have to come to the realization like that you're never going to get that high, or at least that sustained high. You might find some things that are new and interesting that pique you a little bit, but replacing that game and what it means to you, especially because you've been playing since a kid, so all that time invested, and it's hard to find something that can add up to that.
Yeah. And I think that's why you see a lot of, I know former teammates. I even went through it myself. I mean, I was, again, a walk on, so I didn't have any scholarships coming out of high school at all. So my identity, I knew that I was going to have a life beyond football.
Mm-hmm.
But even after I then ended up playing through college, it was tough to make that adjustment because you know yourself as a football player. That's your identity.
Sure.
And it was interesting because when I was on the Seahawks, I went back to my hometown. And it was like opening up the gates of heaven. I was just walking down. I was the man. And then the second I got cut, the next day nobody cared. No one asked any questions. It's like he was in the league.
Yeah.
It was seriously a day later. And I know, like, for me, it was a shock because I was like, man, like, there goes my identity. It's no longer a football player. Now I have to figure out who I am beyond this. And I know there's a lot of guys that struggle with that because, what do you do when that's been your identity since I played ball as early as 6th grade. So
for sure.
That's all I knew.
Yeah. So you get out, you decide not to go to the Panthers. Did you immediately get into medical sales, or did you have some stops along the way?
Yeah. So funny enough, I was just recounting all this because I'm currently writing a book. It's mental health focused, but I was thinking about my plan, or like what had happened, all transpired over the last few years. And so what ended up happening was, I got hired on with Stryker, the medical sales company. Yep. And I was a month into the job, and that's when my agent called me and said, "Hey, do you want to play for the Seahawks?" And I was just sitting with my parents and at their house that weekend. And I'm like, well, I got a job. Like, how long do I have? Can I get back to in a day or two? He's like, "No, I need a decision right now. Like, we're going to fly you out. You're going to try out." So, I ended up just hopping on the plane, and then I said, well, if I don't make it, can you fly me back Sunday? Mm-hmm. I said, because I'm just going to go in Monday and act like nothing happens at work. And they're like, yeah. He goes, but try to keep the mindset that you're going to make the team. I was like, oh, absolutely. I just want to make sure that in case this doesn't work. So I made the team. Then I was there for the 8 weeks that we just discussed. Yep. And then after that, I went right back to my work. And
gotcha.
So I was kind of always with Stryker, even when I was with the Seahawks. I was still like in contact with them week to week, and they're like, "Hey, think you're going to get cut this week?" I was like, "Nah, not this week, but we're going to keep trying and see where this goes." So I always had that line of communication open, and then once Seahawks cut me, I just went right back to sales.
What were you doing? What were you selling for Stryker? Are you with Stryker now or no?
No. I'm currently in a transition period. I do online coaching right now.
Okay.
Personal training and writing the book and doing some mental health speaking engagements. And then, with the move, I might look into going into real estate. So I'm just kind of keeping all options open.
Gotcha.
But when I was in medical sales, I sold orthopedics, specifically knee and hip prostheses.
Oh, wow. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's, so
it was fun.
Yeah.
It was kind of what we talked about earlier. I was in the OR, so it was high stress.
Yeah.
The stakes were always high. You had to look at it like that patient was a loved one. That's the way I treated it. And it ended up my dad, we didn't end up operating on him, but he ended up getting a hip replacement. And so for me, I realized that like everybody that's on this table is somebody's loved one. So it kind of gave me a little bit of that sense of a high. And they actually do take a lot of athletes. Stryker does. They like their athletes and other medical companies. But I think it's that, being able to respond and interact in a high stress environment. So it gave me a little bit of that adrenaline, but still it didn't measure up. But it was fun. It was
you guys are instructing the doctors sometimes on how to do this stuff.
Yeah, there's some stuff that I wouldn't share because I think I was even surprised myself. But
no, I've got some friends in that industry, and it's we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah, I think you understand.
Oh
So we'll
yeah,
just leave it at
definitely
that.
do. Definitely do. Uncut with Jay Cutler is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy and you can save money by doing it right from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 27 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Companies and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. So you're doing Striker. You have this job. How did Bachelorette? Where were you living at the time? In Missouri?
Yeah, I was currently, I went back to Columbia, Missouri for a promotion to become a sales rep because I was a sales associate in training.
Yep.
So then I went back to Columbia where I went to college, and I was there I was approaching 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Or actually 5 years with the company, but I was 3.5 years in Columbia.
Okay.
And I hit my 28th birthday. It was a quarter life crisis, I guess is the best way to put it. I realized that I had just become stagnant in my life. I was kind of going through the motions. I was complacent. I was bored, and I just felt that I needed a change of pace. And so I started to look at jobs actually in Phoenix. My brother just moved there, or both of them did, my younger brothers. And so I felt like, hey, you know what? I'm going to look for a medical sales job in Phoenix. So I started looking into that, then just applying for jobs in that area in general. And long story short, I had a competitor reach out in St. Louis. And so I was looking into that, but it ended up not being what I thought it was. Well, I just at that moment told my company that I was looking to move, but then found out that the job that I was being offered in St. Louis wasn't what I thought it was.
Sure.
And so basically I was on very shaky grounds, and it was kind of like, Clayton, what are you going to do? You know, what's your next step? Meanwhile, as all this was happening, I got reached out on Instagram by a recruiter about the show, The Bachelor, Bachelorette first. I was on the show twice. You have to go on once as a contestant. But they reached out to me, and I was just like, well, this seems ridiculous, but I'll just keep going through the interview process. And if it's meant to be, then it'll be. And if not, it'll fall off. But by the end of it all, I had this, shaky relationship now with my current business. And so all of a sudden I was like, well, if I'm going to jump, this will be the time to do it. So they're like, we want to bring you on the show. And I thought, all right, like, why not? Yeah. I'll give it a shot. And if I hate it, I'll just leave.
So so there's 34 other guys. I mean, I've never seen it. So this is Michelle Young's season?
Yes.
Do I have my timeline right? Okay. So
you are correct.
34 other guys. You and 34 dudes going after one girl.
Yep.
So they put you in a hotel. They kind of isolate you. No phone. Is this how this works?
So I'll just say this. I think
we've got we got NDA problems right now. Shit.
You are right. We were in a hotel.
Yeah.
You are meant to be in that environment and only in that environment.
Sure.
So you don't no other outside distractions. Yes, you are there to really give that relationship a chance. But yes, you are dating with. I think they end up cutting it down to 30. So I think they started with 34. I think that's where you're getting your number from. But I think as far as guys that made it to night one, might have been 30, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, you end up then going through this process of taking each of your 3 or 5 minutes that you get each time to try to convince this woman that, like, hey, like, this is why I'd be worth giving a chance and sticking around for a while.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's interesting.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure because it's the first conversation I had with her. I was essentially rattling off my resume.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I have to give her the best parts of me because there's 29 other guys here. So I kind of have to give her in a nutshell who I am. But it ended up just being me blurting out like, here's what I've done the last 5 years of my life. And I
Yeah.
walked away being like, yeah, that wasn't a conversation. That was just you talking. And I was like, you know what, this is probably going to be short lived, but I didn't know how to navigate it. And clearly I didn't know how to navigate it when I was on the other side either.
Um, so how far did you get in the Bachelorette?
If you want to put a number to it, I was cut right before hometown. So I was somewhere in like I was the eighth guy cut
Oh, so
or
yeah, I
like,
mean
and
you,
somewhere between.
yeah, I mean you got pretty
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. It's crazy because the whole experience filming is, I think, 2 months long. Well, I say think, I know it is 2 months long, and then I made it a month. I think a little over a month.
It that show takes 2 months to film.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a long time.
Well, yeah, it is, and like I mean, you're always doing something every single day,
Yeah,
depending on if you're a contestant versus like the lead.
sure,
Uh, but you say, yeah, it's a lot of time, but also, I mean, again, you got to realize there's other people there, so
sure.
you're not getting to spend all of that time. But it's interesting, yeah, to say the least.
Yeah, I've been on in the reality show world for a short period of my life, so I know producers and how it all goes. So I mean, you
Yeah.
did did you hate it? Did you like it? Were you indifferent on it? Like, what was your feeling? After the Bachelorette.
Oh, I had an incredible experience. Actually, well, so night one, I went in and I was very reserved, very shy, very out of my element. I mean, I never watched reality television. I knew of the
Yeah.
show,
Yep.
and I'd seen like 4 episodes prior and with a past relationship with the girl I was dating. So I knew what the show was. My mom always watched it, but when I got there, I didn't know. I stepped out the limo, 10 cameras, like tons of lights. I can't even see like Michelle at first,
Uh huh.
and I'm like, what am I doing? I ended up getting my ass spanked with a ruler. That was my intro.
Did you
It was,
did you did you
so
did you know who the Bachelorette was going into it, or do you
yeah.
guys not?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
you do know? Okay.
yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't know a ton about her because I didn't watch the previous season, but I did my homework. I looked at it. I looked her up. I saw she was a teacher,
Sure.
and I had a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for teachers. My mom's a
Yeah.
teacher, and so I said, okay, like I'm sure she's a pretty level-headed girl. I saw a few video clips of her, and I was like, yeah, like this girl's very pretty. She seems to have her head on straight. Like this is somebody I could actually see myself liking. So then I'm definitely gonna like give this a shot. And had a really great experience. I have nothing but positive things to say about Michelle. She was an incredible woman, or is an incredible woman, and I had a really great experience with it all. At the end of it, I walked out of there and I was like, man, like that was so much fun. And
Yeah.
I mean, she sent me home, but I was just so happy because I felt like I had made a lot of great friends. I had a lot of respect. It was mutual when she sent me home, as far as like we just had a mutual respect, and I felt like this is cool. Like this is a really great experience, and I feel really recharged, and I'm ready to go take on the next chapter of my life.
Yeah, when you said it was mutual, like, I mean, you didn't think that you wanted to be with her and she didn't want to be with you? Like, was it one of those things and you guys just
Oh,
respected each other, just friendships, or?
no, I say mutual as in like it was a mutual respect.
Okay, I gotcha.
I actually on that last date, I was like, man, I could actually see myself dating this girl. Like
Oh, really?
I'm starting to like her a lot because
Yeah.
I was holding back because there was still at the time 7 other guys. So I was like, well,
Oh,
I don't want
yeah.
to get too involved emotionally.
Uh-huh.
But that date, I started to catch feelings for her. I was like, I actually really like this girl. So when she sent me home, I was shocked. But I also, again, in the back of my mind, I knew there were 7 other guys. So I was like, okay, you knew this could be coming. You weren't overly emotionally invested because you were guarding yourself. So I say mutual from a sense of it was a mutual respect where she was very polite and was like, I
Gotcha.
just don't see you as somebody that I want to continue with. I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
She was very respectful. She said, I'm not ready for you to meet your family, and I just have stronger connections. So
Gotcha.
um, I was like, okay, cool, I understand.
So, I mean, do you guys spend enough time to really get feelings for somebody and know who they are and possibly fall in love? I mean, is there enough time spent with that person to allow this to happen, or do you think that you're like you guys are just in that moment and you just that's for the TV situation of it? Like what? Like how does this? How do you feel about it? If that made sense.
No, it makes complete sense. So it all depends on what side of it you're on. So the interesting part is that I got sent home as a contestant on Michelle's season, and I was a month in. Uh, but prior to that point, I mean, there was cuts of 5 guys a week. So you didn't have a lot of time. I don't know how much time I exactly had with Michelle, but I'm just going to throw a number out. Maybe I had, prior to that point of me being cut, a total of an hour maybe in that whole month, like, of time just with her.
Yeah.
But then what happens is in that next month, after I was sent home, a day later, 3 more guys were sent home. So then the final 4 men had a whole month from that point forward with her.
Gotcha.
So it's like when you get later in the season,
Sure.
there's less people, more time.
Yep.
So when I was the lead, I found that out. I'm like, man, it's there's a lot of people up front, but they're all gone very quickly, and then you get to spend more time with those last few individuals.
Sure.
And you get a good understanding of who they are.
Yeah.
I will say, obviously, now that I'm dating Susie on the outside of things, that we both laughed about it. We're like, man, we really didn't know who, like, exactly we were, like, and what we were getting into. But we had a general idea. I mean, have I been shocked by all the things I've learned about her? No, but like, not shocked, but have there been some things that I'm like, oh wow, like, this is actually, here's an example. Like, I thought on the show she seemed very much, and this might be due to, like, her kind of background. She was very just kind of, I won't say reserved, but I didn't see the goofy side of her until after the show. And after the show, I was like, my gosh, I was like, you're kind of weird, but so am I. And, like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that weirdness, that goofy side of her on the show. She was I think she was, again, very cognizant of the cameras and was holding back a little bit.
Absolutely.
So in that aspect, that's where you don't get to, I think, fully see somebody, because they might be a little bit cautious of, like, hey, I have cameras in my face. So her big thing was that she wouldn't kiss me on camera. She hated it. Or she would, but, like, she did not like to kiss on camera because she was like, my mom's going to watch this.
Yeah.
But we're a month and a half in, and she's still not kissing me. In my head, I'm like, this girl's not into me at all. Because we're a month and a half in, and she's still, like, feeling uncomfortable with kissing me. So what is it? And it was simply just the cameras.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, you put cameras and producers and producer show. I mean, it's not everyone's going to be super comfortable with that.
Well, and look at, if you see the close-ups when people kiss. I mean, imagine this. All right, you're kissing, and there's a camera right here.
I've done it before.
I mean, it's right here. You can see the saliva. I mean, you can hear all the noises. Yeah, and so it's right there in your face. So even when you start to become more accustomed to it, you still feel the presence of people around you. And that's just something that you start to, like, it lessens over time, but you're still aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I mean, these aren't paid actors, so, you know, being intimate on camera is not something that most people are accustomed to or want to be a part of, which I totally respect. So you get out of the Bachelorette, you had a great experience. Do you go back to Missouri then?
So I went back, and I basically, like, on the show, on my way out, I was talking to a couple of the producers, and I said, I'm rejuvenated. I'm so happy. This was an awesome experience. Thank you guys so much.
Sure.
They're like, what's the next steps for you? I was like, I'm going to Phoenix. I'm selling my place, and I'm moving to Phoenix. And I said, and I bet you in the next year, I'll be settled down with somebody. Like, this really just made me realize that I want to be back in a relationship, because I hadn't been in a relationship, a serious one, for over 5 years prior to that point.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to, like, get back in a serious relationship. And so I went back to Missouri and sold my condo and then moved to Scottsdale. But I had already, at that point, I had started to have conversations about how my reality TV journey wasn't over. So I knew I was going to be in Scottsdale, but it was just kind of waiting for time to pass before I started my next chapter as The Bachelor.
Did you have, I mean, were you all in on it? Were some doubts? Maybe I shouldn't do this.
Oh, I was all in. Because I had such an incredible experience on the Bachelorette side of things that I just thought, well, it can only be better from here, because now I'm in the driver's seat. So now I'm able to, like, there aren't going to be as many surprises, and I'll be able to, like, I'll be more comfortable kind of knowing how this whole thing goes, and being able to then, not be the one who's one of 30, but the one, and I thought that that would bring a sense of comfort and make things easier. And yeah, I was very, very mistaken.
I haven't. Did you see the show at all? All right, so we're too novice here. So all right, let's just get into it then. So you get. I mean, what do you have? 30 women there. You get out of the. They get it. They just come pouring out, and there's 30 women in front of you.
Yeah, so they come out. There's limos. And
how did you know everyone's names? I'm horrible at names. Were producers like in your ear helping you, or like how'd this go?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, you have to be realistic here. I mean,
Sure.
it's night one. It's how are you going to remember 30 names, right? Like, so you're constantly. I think about it. If you're out in public and you meet somebody, like, hey, who's that right there? Who we just talked to? Same thing.
Yeah, sure.
I do the same thing with the producers. I'm like, hey, who was that I just talked to? And I would try to, yeah, I was trying to make sure that, like, obviously. I wasn't saying the wrong names, but yeah, did I know all the names night one? No. I mean, that's one area that I knew I was like so focused on other things. I'm like, okay, just keep making sure you're helping me with the names.
Sure. I don't know if this is good or bad. It's probably bad, but I make a decision pretty quickly. Like I know pretty quickly, like I'm probably going to have my top 8 immediately. Were you, I mean, you were giving people the benefit of the doubt and getting to know them, or were you like, hey, like these are my probably top 15 and these I'm not sure about?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely you build a kind of a mental list in your head as far
Yeah.
as uh, like where do I feel these people stand?
Yeah.
And I will say that I had a pretty good understanding after the first night, kind of where like each of the women stood. And sure enough, like there wasn't a ton of variation from night one towards till like the top 10, top 5 when it
Yeah.
got to that point. A lot of those women had made a really great first impression night one. And,
Yeah.
and so I was like, I kind of knew who was going to stick around. There wasn't anybody that, that might've been like back at like I say a number here, like just say like
Sure.
someone back at the end of the pack.
Yeah. That
And like
made a surprise jump.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
like came rocketing up. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't really that happening.
I mean, I guess you also kind of have to be cognizant of like, who's actually here to maybe spark a real relationship and who's just here for cameras and, to get their
Oh boy, you're
publicity
starting
of
to
it.
sound like a fan already. Oh my gosh, man. You're using all the buzzwords here.
Am
It's
I?
called here for the wrong reasons. That's
Okay.
a big topic of conversation every
Is
single
it?
season. So look at you. You're already starting to get in with the vernacular and having
Perfect.
those thoughts. Yeah, well, it's a big thing actually that you have to think about, and especially as the lead. I mean, yeah, even towards the end of it, there were people that I had sent home because I was questioning
Yeah.
if they were there for me or for the 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I found out, at least I had a pretty good hunch that more than a few of them were there for their 15 minutes. I mean, let's be real. Like, I think we have to just be smart about it. Most of these people that are coming on the show, no, like, and I'll even put myself into this group. I wasn't looking for fame or anything when I came on the show. I honestly thought that I was going to go on. Michelle was probably not going to pick me because I had a 1 in 30 chance. And I figured, okay, like, but somebody will watch me on TV. They'll like me and they'll say, hey, like, okay, I'm going to reach out to him. So I figured like this would be a really great way for me to put myself out there as like, hey, I'm an eligible bachelor, just so you guys know I'm here in Columbia, Missouri. So it was kind of my thought. Like it was going to cast a wider net to help kind of find who it was I was looking for.
Yeah.
So that
I respect that. I mean, I think that, I mean, you're honest about it. So, I mean, I think it's,
yeah,
makes sense.
No, I got nothing to hide. And
Yeah.
sometimes my honesty gets me in trouble, but like, that's just the truth. But I do think I also saw the other side of it, that some of these women and some people go on the show to push their careers, and
For sure.
and that platform has the ability to do that. So I never really was upset with any of the women for it. I just kind of hope that they weed themselves out toward the end. So like, cause I was like, okay, listen, I'm here at this point and I'm actually catching real feelings. So if you're not here for me, like, can you just, I'd be totally okay if you pulled me aside and just told me like, hey, like I would respect that, and we'd go our separate ways and it'd be cordial. But again, past shows, girls have been found out that they were there for the wrong reasons, and they got absolutely tossed into the lion's den with the audience that watched. So even if somebody was like, I want to be respectful and tell this to like the lead, they wouldn't do it probably because they'd be fearful that they're going to be tossed out and thrown out into the fire, and they become a villain. So you have to it's scary when you realize that you're at the mercy of the fans that watch the show and a few other different individuals as well.
Uncut with Jay Cutler is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Let's face it, sometimes multitasking can be a little overwhelming. Like when your favorite podcast is playing and the person next to you is talking and your car fan is blasting, all while you're trying to find the perfect parking spot. But then again, sometimes multitasking is easy, like quoting with Progressive Insurance. They do the hard work of comparing rates so you can find a great rate that works for you, even if it's not with them. Give their nifty comparison tool a try, and you might just find getting the rate and coverage you deserve is easy. All you need to do is visit Progressive's website to get a quote with all the coverages you want, like comprehensive and collision coverage or personal injury protection. Then you'll see Progressive's direct rate, and their tool will provide options from other companies all lined up and ready to compare, so it's simple to choose the rate and coverages you like. Press play on comparing auto rates. Quote at Progressive.com to join the over 27 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably be my biggest concern, like you just said. Like, you go through this whole process for, 2 months, and then you meet somebody you really like, and then after the show, like, you find out that, they're just in it for themselves. I mean, that would suck.
Yeah, I mean that's where again I had a lot of those questions, and I had those insecurities even going into the final few weeks, and and I had other insecurities as well and weaknesses of my own that came to light, and
Everyone does.
I've since had to address. Yeah, but it was what happened was my weaknesses and my insecurities were compounded by the fact that I was questioning even down to the final few women. I was like, are these women actually here for me, or are they just playing this game and they're trying to find their out whenever it's convenient? So I was very much in my head at the end of it all.
Yeah.
And because of that, I mean, you didn't see it, but a lot of people saw me become very frustrated, and I freaked out and panicked, and I displayed a part of my character that I would say I was very embarrassed. I'm very embarrassed by now, but it was just a really bad moment that I let my emotions get the best of me because of the insecurities that I had.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so I don't know what happened, and I'm not going to make you relive it. But I think that's a reasonable thing to happen, to have some insecurities about that and question whether someone's in it for the right reasons. I mean, it's literally 2 months. I mean, it's not a lot of time, and you're not spending a lot of time with each girl. I mean, it's not like you're with one girl for 2 months and you're now questioning it. I mean, you're spending 30 girls, then you're down to 4 for a month. So I mean, I think that's I've got some compassion for that. I think I'd probably have a lot of insecurities and have a lot of questions for these girls as well, especially when cameras are rolling and you don't know what the hell they're in it for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get the one night of off camera time, and then that's when you get to ask all the questions that you had in your head, but like you didn't want, like, that's when you get to say, like, voice your real concerns and be like, hey, if this is the time, if you're looking for an out, like this is it. Like we can, because you just, I mean, it's, but outside of that, I mean, when the camera's always rolling, you just realize that anything that I say, even if I'm just being honest, I mean, that honesty can get turned and weaponized on you very quickly.
Oh yeah. And I mean, and the following on these two shows is massive. So, I mean, there's a lot of eyes, and there's a lot of people talking. Did the producers push you at all in certain directions on certain girls, or was it, totally your call?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't, I think it's so easy to read if you're into somebody or not. So, look, and again, I gotta be careful with everything that I say, but I'll say this much. Like, I look back at the whole show now, and they have to do their jobs. They have to create something that's entertaining. And then my position was to push these relationships along and truthfully, like, try to find love. And that was what my job was. And at the end of the day, they have to make an entertaining TV show. I have no bad feelings towards them. I think that in hindsight, I look at it all as a positive experience. I've learned so much about myself. I had to address all these insecurities and weaknesses, and I feel better as a man overall for it, and just a human being. So I think, honestly, being broken down the way I was my own doing. And if they saw a weakness of mine and decided to kind of jump into it a little bit, okay, fine. Like I'm not saying they did that, but I think at the end of the day, like Matthew McConaughey, I was listening to his book Green Lights. He said it best. It's when it comes to Hollywood, awesome book. He said it's not personal, it's business, and that's the way I see it. So I don't hold any grudges. I'm not mad at them at all.
Sure.
I think if anything, I'm a better person for it. I just went through a lot of hell at the time, but it was my own doing.
All right. Well, I'll ask one of the questions from the girls. It's a layup for you. Okay. So, did you have to bring all your clothes, or did they dress you? I mean, this is from Lauren in the office.
Yeah. You trying to get style points, man? I feel like
I'm good.
No, you wouldn't want style points. You should have seen what I was wearing on Michelle's side of things. I brought my entire wardrobe, but literally within a week, they're like, Clayton, do you have a dress casual shirt? I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, that's not dress casual. Like, it is in Missouri. And so they were like, gosh dang it, Clayton. Like, we need you to, go online and order some stuff. You don't have enough clothes.
Oh, wow.
But when I was on the other side of it as the lead, they helped me out. I had actually a really, really great stylist. His name's Carrie. Loved the dude to death. Oh, wow. And we had a lot of time. And he was like, Clayton, he's like, what's your style? I was like, I don't have any. I don't have any style.
You tell me my style.
Yeah. Yep. So that was what he did. And I told that man, I said, I'll try it all. We'll see I'll figure out my style by the end of this.
Awesome. All right, we'll get to the happy ending here. So Susie's in the season finale. You felt good about her. Apparently, she shot you down. Why do you think she shot you down?
Oh, I know why. Yeah, she was. I'll fill you in. Yeah, Cliff Notes.
Yep.
It's totally fine. I mean, it's not like a secret.
I'm sure.
I came down to the final 3 women that were there, and I had expressed feelings of love to the other 2 women.
What is it, Gabby and Rachel?
Yes.
Okay.
I expressed feelings of love to all 3. And then I was intimate with the other 2 women. So when it came time for Susie, she was the 3rd date of the week.
Yeah.
And she told me, like, if you've expressed feelings of love or if you've been intimate, I can't continue on with this. Like, I can't get engaged with or leave with somebody after they've just done that with 2 other people.
Sure.
Fair enough, right? And my biggest mistake was I made a ton of assumptions, and I assumed at the time I was upset because I thought, if that's how you felt, why wouldn't you come to me beforehand? But, I look back at it now and I think I should have had some perspective from the outside world looking in, realizing that, like, if you're looking to get engaged with somebody, you should not be being intimate with other people 2-3 days right beforehand. Now, I was lost. It's common sense, right?
Yes.
Common sense. My mistake was I got, like, wrapped up in the environment.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. I mean, that's what they want. That's what the show's about. Like, that's the TV side of it.
But when you hear me say, I mean, your explanation is, or your response is what, I mean, you would think it to be like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
And as I watched it back from an outside perspective. I knew it went on.
Oh, you watched it?
Oh yeah. I watched the entire season.
Gosh, you're braver than me.
So did
Susie?
Yeah, it was tough, but I had to answer questions and all that, so I had to know what was shown.
I gotcha.
Speak about what was shown. Yeah, I couldn't talk about things that weren't shown.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to know whatever.
You've got to answer. It's like the worst nightmare. You started dating Susie afterwards, and now you have to talk about 30 other women.
Yeah. Try to explain. It's very, very challenging to think about it. You're dating somebody, and yet for 3 months while you're dating them, you're talking up other women. It's not. It's really. I mean, it's really tough for that partner to sit here and be like, you're drumming all these people up. And the mistake I made. Was I was kind of downplaying my relationship with Susie because I was like trying to keep the secret away from everybody. But in reality, I look back at it, I'm like, I was damaging my own relationship because I was playing this game of trying to sway people away from the fact that I was with her. And I actually ended up doing damage. And that was something that I look back at and I'm like, man, I got so enveloped as being the Bachelor that I lost sight of being a good boyfriend, of being a good human being, of being a good man. Like I got sucked up into this role, and that was my own doing. Again, it was nobody else did that besides me. So I just unfortunately took that role too seriously,
That's
I was, it was a mess.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like you learned a shit ton, and I mean, got great perspective on it. So how did you and Susie get back together after the show?
She actually DM'd me
Uh
on
oh.
Instagram. It was like a couple days after we left the show.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fake account. I thought somebody was already trying to get the inside scoop. I
Uh
saw
huh.
her. And it's so crazy how things work. I was
Yeah.
getting thousands of messages a day,
Yeah.
but I just got like I was on my phone. I was scrolling through my DMs, uh, processing everything, and all of a sudden I see my favorite color is red, and I
Mm-hmm.
see this red profile, like red, someone's wearing a red shirt, and it was her.
Mm-hmm.
So that caught my eye. Otherwise, I would have kept scrolling. It caught my eye, and I saw it said Susie Evans, and I'm like, what? So I click on it, and she's like, hey, I just want to hope you're doing okay. I would love to have a conversation with you.
Okay.
And so I like clicked on the account, and I'm like making sure this is her because I'm
Yeah.
thinking this is some fan account that's trying to bust me right now.
Sure.
But it wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't. So we ended up reaching out. We talked on FaceTime for like 2.5 hours
Mm-hmm.
that night, and then we were on FaceTime every day after that point. I told her, I was like, after that first night, I was like, so should I call you tomorrow? And she was like, you can call me tomorrow. So then we just kept talking and talking
Yeah.
and talking, and then after about 2 weeks, I was like, hey, I want to meet up. Like, I want to see
Yeah.
you. Like, I don't want to. I just like, let's just give it a shot and see if we can mend this.
You had to dig yourself out of a hole for a little while first.
I've been doing a lot of digging. Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
well, I
I
mean,
get,
it sounds. I mean, it sounds like you've got it figured out. You guys are doing it right now. You guys are together. You said you're moving to back to Arizona. And how did you get on the mental health thing? Just from the show and stuff?
yeah. I mean, I had my mental health journey, as I've explained it to as the people that as I've had these conversations, started back in seventh grade. I started struggling with anxiety, then some depression, body
Mm-hmm.
dysmorphia. Started taking its grasp on me at that point in my life. And so then in college, I started to just be more open about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was confident in my own skin. I thought, hey, like I don't feel like less of a man. That was the big thing, is the toxic masculinity growing up in football and in high school. If you talked about your feelings, you were a bunch of different expletives.
Sure.
So I just kept it to myself. But
Mm-hmm.
I got to college, and honestly, just my physical size, I was like, no one's going to be sitting here calling me less of a man, like at the size that I am. And
Yeah.
that was a very, I guess, ignorant mindset to have. But I started becoming more comfortable just having the conversations, and I started opening up about it. And what I was met with was a lot of, with open arms. People were like, wow, like,
Yeah.
I'm thankful, thank you for sharing this. All the show did was basically just gave me a massive platform for me to then be like, you know what, my mental health was definitely called into question on the show. I mean, I went to my lowest points when the show was airing. Um, I never went to the point of having like serious suicidal thoughts, but while the show was airing, I was getting death threats and thousands of hate messages a day. And I started to question my own character and who I was as a person. And so I took a really hard hit. And there were points where I was, staring out a window, being like, it'd be a lot easier if I just wasn't here. So
Wow.
my mental health took a massive hit. And then I just realized, though, that I'm like, I don't want to stay in this corner and back myself into it and
Yeah.
just curl up in a ball. I'm going to take full accountability and responsibility, and I'm going to take back this narrative of the narrative that I had started to fall victim to of myself. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to change the narrative of anybody else. I wasn't trying to. I was just like, take back the narrative of who you know yourself to be. And so I think I've done that. I'm still a work in progress, but now I feel that if I can climb out of that hole, then after everything that I went through, then hopefully that resilience that I've showed can help somebody else climb out of their own.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all work in progress at some point. So, but it sounds like you've got this thing kind of figured out, and you're heading in the right direction for sure, which is great to hear.
Yeah, I mean, never fully figured out, right? But
No one
yeah, I mean,
does.
right. We never do, but I think I'm much more cognizant of how I can improve continually, and so now I'm just pouring into the things that I'm passionate about. That's what I can say that this show offered me.
Hmm.
Is it's allowed me to redirect my course down a pathway that's where my true passions lie. So, between fitness and mental health, like that's been a really, really exciting journey to take on. And I liked medical sales, but that I would say that probably wasn't my true passion in life. So if I'm able to now be chasing after what my real dreams are and my passions are, I'd say that ultimately I think I came out of this in a much better position in a weird way.
I love it. I love it. So you're writing a book, mental health focus. You're training people, I guess. What else you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, I just started to have this conversation. Susie and I are talking about how we can grow together. So
Yeah.
we were just had a conversation about real estate. We're like, maybe we could get into real estate. Like that'd be.
Yeah.
We both have very similar personalities. That would be fun to build that. She's big into wedding videography.
Okay.
Sometimes when she goes to weddings, she has multiple cameras that she sets up, and she's like, Clayton, honestly, if you'd be down for it, I'd love to train you to be able to man that second camera. So we've had conversations about us basically going around and shooting travel, doing travel trips, but going to weddings, destination weddings. So we're just honestly just throwing ideas up at the wall, up at the ceiling, and seeing what sticks. And we're just kind of taking it like, hey, listen, I'm 29, she's 28, and we realize we're young and we have a lot of life to live ahead of us. So we're like, hey, what do we want to do? What do we think would be most fun long term?
I love it. It's always fun to do it with somebody else, especially somebody you care about. So that's sounds like you guys have a fun journey ahead of you.
Yeah, we got a lot going on, and she's been great because she's been an entrepreneur for the last few years of her life with her video business. I was in corporate America, so I definitely have needed her to be there to show me that, hey, it's okay when you wake up every day and you make your living. You are the product. So you're the one that's going to have to go out there and sell yourself and whatever it is. She's been actually really great in that avenue, that front, to be able to get me to think more like an entrepreneur. And we got a lot of exciting things ahead. I don't know what the future holds specifically, but I know I want to be active in the mental health space. I want to go around the country. Once I write this book and finish it, I'm about 3.5 months out from finishing the book as of right now. And then I'll start going around, hopefully the country, talking to high schools and college kids and just being able to share my experience, hopefully destigmatize the conversations around mental health and just let these kids know that seeking help and finding resources doesn't make you less of a man, doesn't make you less of a human being. You shouldn't be embarrassed by it. We all have our own issues, and I'm just hoping to be able to spread that message.
Totally agree. Love it. Where can people find you? Instagram, Twitter, what
Instagram.
do we got here? Instagram?
Instagram.
What is it?
It's Clayton Echard, just my first and last name.
Clayton Echard on Instagram. He's got a book coming out. Wish you and Susie the best of luck. It sounds like you guys got a lot of stuff planned ahead and have kind of some stuff figured out. I think the worst part of your relationship is probably behind you guys.
I'd say a lot of it's behind us. Yeah, always new challenges ahead, but yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, man. This is so great to talk to you. I enjoyed the conversation. It's so great to be able to spread just to be able to hopefully spread my message and get to know new people along the way. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the tutorial in the Bachelor and Bachelorette world. And I wish you the best of luck. It sounds like you're headed down an awesome path and journey with the mental health. And you and Susie, hopefully you guys get everything figured out and can have a long life together.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And at the end of the day, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. So thank you so much for your time. And maybe I'll catch you sometime in Nashville.
Love to. Thanks, Clayton. Appreciate it, man.